It is a tale as old as time. Tonight, your hours of preparation pay off. The role-playing table is set. You have carefully constructed, written, and even practiced perfectly curated story threads for each one of your players' characters. Anticipation is high! And it is time, the day of. You're excited, your dice are ready, the door knocks, and you let your fellow players enter. Enter into a world of adventures. There's Nariel, there's Juno, there's Ezra. But wait, where is Robin? Robin is a no-show. Yes, we've all had it happen to us before. What do you do when a player does not show? On this episode of Designer Diaries! Hello there, I'm Alan Gerding, and this is Designer Diary. Show where I just give you some of my own tips, tricks, thoughts, ideas, whether they're original or not, about how to make a good game. Typically, I only talk about role-playing games. Maybe one of these days I'll talk about board and card games, but allow me to digress as we dive into this episode about what should you do if a player does not show up to your gaming table unexpectedly. Yes, it is kind of a truth that you really shouldn't plan for a roleplay session until maybe a few days before the actual session. Why? Because you don't even know who's actually gonna be there. I mean, one idea is you have some type of clinch player, a substitute, if you will, that always sits on a bench by their phone waiting for your phone call so you can tell them, hey, Robin the cleric didn't show. Come on over, Neville. You're in, buddy. All right. Now, that's probably not realistic nor kind. So short of that, let's talk about some other possible methods of what you can do when a player doesn't show. First thing you must consider is this really depends on how important that player's character is to this session, this specific adventure. And there's a continuum here. It's not a light switch. It's not either or. They can be on some type of rank system. At the one end, you've got a total non-critical character, some kind of schlub. They don't need to be there. They're just filler. If anything, maybe the adventure is even better off without the distractions that player and their character may provide. But at the extreme other end, you have an absolutely quintessential character, critical to the story. In fact, the entire story hinges upon that character's presence. It's as if there's a movie and they are the protagonist, and this is the ultimate climax where the hero either succeeds or not. It's their story. It's John McClane in Die Hard. Everyone else is just supporting cast members. Now, ideally, every single player should feel they're somewhere well towards the critical end. If all of your players feel that their characters are non-critical, then they may not be motivated to show up. And perhaps that's a story for another time. If you want a whole video on how do I make sure that each of my players feel as if their character is important, when in actuality, they're totally replaceable, leave a comment below if you want me to make that video. But that's not what we're talking about today. No, let's get back on track. Your characters ideally are somewhere in the middle of this non-critical, critical continuum. Let's start with what happens if a critical player does not show. One idea is you simply play another game. Another game that maybe gives you a similar experience. You don't want them to come over and say, hey, sorry, Robin's out here, and that's the cleric, your healer, tough titty, so let's play some Candyland. Now, I have some recommendations. One really simple one is Escape the Dark Castle. As you can see here, it's incredibly light, it's very theme heavy, it doesn't take a lot of buy-in. Even if players are a little reticent to play, you get in and you get out relatively quickly. And that's one of the beautiful things about Escape the Dark Castle. It's what I call a harmless game. It never overstays its welcome. It leaves players, if anything, wanting more. It has great visuals. In fact, the name of the publisher is Themeborn. So that's just one idea of an emergency replacement game. You can play this in a pinch with very little effort. The other idea, and I like this one, is you can start an entirely new role-playing party. You could even try a new role-playing game. Maybe you've been playing Mothership, the sci-fi horror role-playing game by Sean McCoy, available at TuesdayNightGames.com. Buy all of our shit today! And someone says, well, let's pivot and start a game that doesn't include Robin, who didn't show. Instead, you decide to try your hand at Into the Odd or roll some characters for Father Fog. Something, any of these role-playing games. But here's another idea. Why not do a one-shot side quest? So this is the idea where your players have some type of quest that they go on that you can complete in one frickin' session. Now this requires a lot of prep work. You're gonna have to have this one shot in your back pocket, prepared and ready to go, like some type of Western gunslinger ready to draw at any time. It's almost as if you're really excited when Robin doesn't show up because you think, finally, now I can use this one shot that I've had in my back pocket this entire time. How does this take place? It may have to be a head in the box episode where maybe it's a hallucination, or maybe it takes place before the players even met. It's just some type of side quest that doesn't connect necessarily to what's happening right there and then. Moving on to non-critical characters, here's a method I like to call the zombie mule method. You still want to play the game, so Robin's character is gonna be there, but no one's controlling Robin? How are we gonna do that? You have Robin be some type of zombie mule. Doesn't really act or have any initiative or anything like that. Mindlessly follows you around like a zombie, carrying anything you want. Because inevitably, Robin may have a key, either figuratively or literally, that the rest of the party will need to continue on their adventure. So as long as you have access to Robin's character sheet, you can have Robin's character be controlled by everybody else. I've heard so many good sessions of people using the zombie mule as a meat shield, or throwing them into a dungeon's room first to test if there's any danger. Robin comes back the next session. Why am I missing a hand? Well, it got bitten off by the warg that was on the other side of that door. Should have been here. But that's the idea of the zombie mule. Bonus points if you can incorporate it into the story somehow. Perhaps there is a virus that comes quickly and leaves just as fast. What does this virus do? It leaves its victims in a catatonic-like state wherein language fails and only the most basic commands are blindly obeyed. Amnesia may result. Please consult your local alchemist or barber surgeon for symptoms lasting longer than 2 play sessions. All right, moving on. You don't want to use a zombie mule technique. Okay. So instead, you just have them disappear or leave them frozen. Maybe it's another mysterious virus. They've caught the kiss of the gargoyle, where they are now frozen in place like a statue. Don't want to use them as a statue? Well, have a little side quest adventure after they vanish. Something that you play with that player outside of that session. They fell down an actual rabbit hole, and in that rabbit hole was an entire new solo adventure they had on their own. This way, when they return to the rest of their players, they have some wondrous tale of what happened in the session they were missing. And maybe, just maybe, these solo quests are highly lethal, leaving you the opportunity to kill them. They're now dead. Or just have them come back as a villain. Because nothing plays better than a returning fellow player that has been corrupted by evil. And with that, we close this episode of Designer Diary. What did you think? Let me know.